The man's shirt was white, with 3 thick, blue stripes running horizontal across his chest. His eyes were blue too, and wide open. Percy thought he seemed surprised, although this was not his area of expertise. "It's nothing personal," Percy told him. That was what they always said in the movies. The man didn't reply. Blood dripped slowly, rhythmically, from his mouth and onto the steering wheel. His hands grasped at the hole in his chest. Maybe he thought he could hold himself together until help arrived, but blood was running into his open eyes. Percy watched with detached interest as the tiny droplets rolled over the man's thick eyebrows from the hole in his forehead, beating momentarily on his stubby eyelashes. There was no help to be found out here. Percy pushed the body to the side of the road, rolled it into a ditch with his foot, and kicked some dirt over it. Then he returned to the truck and started the engine and pulled onto the empty highway without looking back. Percy had been working at the Main Street news agency for 8 years and 172 days and had only taken 1 day off last week for the funeral. Upon return, he had expected inane questions about music and flower arrangements and prayers and hymns, but no one said a word to him all day. They unpacked boxes, they arranged magazines, and they all wore the same strange look as the pastor the day before, standing in the pulpit of the mostly empty chapel out by the dump. Percy was confused. They want to know what I do on weekends, but not how my mother's funeral was? Percy carried on with his day until noon, when it struck him that he'd become an object of their pity. He forced back bile and drafted his resignation letter on the back of a receipt. He was disenchanted with the thought of suicide, even with pills or drink or exhaust fumes. Percy was pleased that Frank Smith had killed himself that way the previous summer though, or he never would have had the idea. It was the exhaust fumes that got him thinking. First on the list was a gun. Second, a car. Pamela had worked at the news agency for 5 years, parking her little red hatchback out the front each day. Pamela. Strawberry blonde bouffant and ladybug seat covers and fat hips swaying at the lottery counter. She couldn't gossip about him with a bullet in her throat, Percy thought with what he imagined was satisfaction. Streetlights blurred by as he accelerated, leaning back against the ladybugs. He knew they wouldn't find her until morning. The town disappeared behind him. He wondered why he hadn't done all of this sooner. The hatchback had slowed and sputtered out eventually, out of fuel, out on the highway, the middle of nowhere. The man in the blue striped shirt had pulled up alongside him, offering a tow to the next town. Percy was disappointed to feel no thrill as he pulled the trigger. The handgun sat on the bloodied seat beside him, and he turned the dial for the radio. Old country music. A talkback host with a nasal voice. The noise hummed through the car as he drove, drumming his fingers without tune on the steering wheel. Towns flashed by. Minutes stretched to hours. Sometimes he thought he saw lights flashing in the rearview mirror, but when he looked, it was only ever the sun. He pulled up to a gas station and killed the engine. An old man emerged from the booth and began to fuel the car without looking at him. Percy waited. The man returned to his booth, favoring his left knee, wiping his hands on stained denim jeans. Percy opened the driver's side door, tucked the handgun into his pocket, and approached the makeshift counter. $3.50, said the man, not looking. Percy waited. The old man looked up. Their eyes met. Percy cocked the gun and fired once before the man could yell. The bullet hit between his eyes. Percy let the body slump against its seat and wiped his hands and got back into his truck. He turned on the engine. A car pulled in behind him, sending up a cloud of dust that settled on the shell of the old man. Percy waited, relieved. Red and blue chased each other in their rearview mirrors.